Hey, listeners, thanks for tuning into the podcast. I just want to take a moment to mention the podcast sponsor, retrogamestore.com.au. Head over there for all your Game Boy refurbish and repair needs. Screens, shells, buttons, and all the bits and pieces. And there's a complete custom build made to order service as well. Also, plenty more retro gaming goodness like video cables, display stand and power supplies, controllers, etc. And you can add the code PixelPie at checkout to get 10% off your order. Also, take a moment to say if you enjoyed this episode and haven't already, give it a subscribe or follow and a review where you can. And maybe you want to recommend the Pixel Pie podcast to anyone you know that would enjoy it. That'd be really appreciated. So thanks for listening, and now let's get on with the show.
Hi, this is Tendo209, and you're listening to the Pixel Pie podcast.
And hello, Andy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm pretty good. Scott, how are you doing?
Oh, dude, I am feeling pretty good today. I want to share my experience, but when I have these conversations with people prior to the podcast, and I see Instagram, and we all try to work out what we know about someone just from their Instagram, and you get a bit, but when someone's like very much just their retro gaming, then you're like, geez, it feels a bit like everybody else. You don't know their age, you know what they look like and stuff. And then I always get this sort of like a blind date experience. I'm sure every guest that comes on has the same, like, what does this dude look like?
Totally.
Yeah. And then you come up and I'm like, boom. And I just instantly saw Frank Zappa. So for anybody that knows who Frank Zappa is, maybe a little less crazy, a little more civilized, but blew me away. And from that moment on, I feel like I've known you for about 35 years. So there we go.
Awesome.
So enough yabbering. How you doing? What's going on?
I'm good. It's a Friday night here in Toronto.
Yep.
I know you're in the future. You the global time machine.
Yeah, I say it every time. Still no hoverboards. Don't get excited. Every time.
I'm good. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. We did a movie night with my daughters. We watched Up, and we got some takeout food, and just had a nice kind of a low key evening.
Problem with those Disney movies is they always make me cry every time.
Oh yeah,
every time. There's like, can we just have a happy movie and just enjoy the story without all this death and like some of the sadness? And there's always I appreciate there's morals and lessons to learn. And they become points where I can teach my daughter because something goes wrong and you're like, dude, it's just a movie. In the end, someone learns how to overcome, how to deal with, how to be bigger, how to be stronger, how to be faster, or whatever it is. So you're trying to explain it to her with tears in your eyes. It's not very convincing. Sure. Sort of thing, you know. And then maybe when you become a parent, you feel a bit more from it and you identify. I'm not trying to alienate anybody who doesn't have children because everybody has sisters and parents. It can be us brothers and it can be the same thing. But I love Disney. I do. I'm a sucker, but God damn it, I'm tired of crying every time I watch one of their great movies.
Well, here's the thing with Up, right? When it came out in maybe 2006 or 2007, I could be wrong.
And it's Pixar, not Disney, but similar concept.
Sure. But I didn't have kids when I watched it, and the opening scene is sad. Like you have to have like a heart of stone to not kind of at least get the lower lip quivering, like, oh man, that's sad. And I watched it was sad, and then I watched it again with my daughters tonight. I haven't seen it since then. And just they're going to the opening scene and they're both just like, what's going on? And I'm like, it's fine, don't eat your McDonald's.
For sure. Yeah, cool. That sounds like fun. Now, I guess starting somewhere, and we'll just sort of like, I just generally use someone's Instagram as a bit of a, it's like that's the railway tracks we cruise along.
Sure.
And as that happens, we wander through the different carriages of people's kind of experiences and lives. And obviously retro gaming is kind of like what brings most of us together. And more specifically, Game Boys tends to be the initial sort of gateway to. So I'll sort of just start, I guess, back at
sure.
Your first Instagram post, according to the Tendo209, was 14th of July, 2021. And it is a pocket, a black pocket with red buttons and a red lens. And
right. I'm gonna play along at home with you.
Yeah. And so a USB-C, a LiPo battery, and a Pro Sound out, and the Famitsu lettering, and custom buttons and lens. And an LCD backlight. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to jam into one. And this is a few years ago. Was this like your first throw at it, or was this the first time you could put something on Instagram?
Yeah.
Right.
That essentially. So I've been kind of into modding Game Boys since maybe 2016, 2017, maybe.
Awesome.
And I'm going to fast forward to my Instagram. Like I have another Instagram account that's just pictures of like me and dinners I made and pictures of my kids and stuff. But I kind of wanted to kind of show I was modding Game Boys on the side, and I was kind of sort of somewhat participating on like Facebook and stuff. But I just felt like I was like, I think I should start up an Instagram account and just share a couple of pictures of things I've done. And that one, the black shell, I have it there somewhere. The black shell one that my first post was just kind of, it was mostly kind of like an experiment. I just wanted to try to just kind of cram as much stuff in. It's got like one of the old school backlights, and I think I had a poorly soldered 5-volt step up regulator, and it was just all kind of a bit of spaghetti inside. I'm a much better solderer now.
Well, you learn pretty quick, I guess, if you break a few things and wreck a few things. I guess you either give up or you get better. And sounds like you got better.
I'd like to think I got better.
Yeah, cool. And then I guess we sort of look along, and I won't just like follow your Instagram. We won't use that, but just to kind of get a bit of an idea of the stuff we can sort of chat about. Like, and then a few posts later, you've got like a couple of Super Nintendo games. Like you got Doom, and you picked this like, so your words here, I still can't get over. I only paid $15 for a complete in box copy of Doom SNES back in 1990. And that is old school, good old days. So, and I flicked through, and there's a lot of other stuff. It's not just Game Boys, there's 3DSs and there's some other consoles and stuff. And so what was your kind of give some idea of your vintage and kind of growing up, because I'm always interested in people that are probably closer to my age. That have experience growing up in gaming, because I didn't. And most of the people I speak to are kind of like late 20s to early 30s, and like I'm at least 10 to 15 years past that. So what was your growing up in gaming and stuff? You would have been Atari 2600 kid, probably.
Well, I was born in the very late 70s.
Yep.
And I was sort of trying to do a nostalgic trip through my brain. Like my very first memory that I can think of a video game was I was at I think it was like with one of my older cousins, I believe, and there was a Pac-Man machine at a laundromat. And I was maybe 3 or 4. Wow. And I remember I just remember everybody was smoking, just like standing there watching like big kids smoking and playing Pac-Man and just watching. Like I remember I was big enough I could like kind of see up and see the screen, and I was just like, wow, this is like, I remember trying it, but that was kind of like my arcade machines were one of my first. And I remember seeing arcade machines at like shopping malls and stuff where my parents would be like, don't go in there, bad people hang out in arcades. But that was the early 80s, right?
But they did.
I guess like growing up, before I had like an NES or anything, I had a friend who his dad. It turned out his dad was like a computer scientist or something, and he had a ColecoVision, I believe.
Yeah.
At his house, and I remember I was in grade 1, so I must have been like 5 or 6 maybe. And I would go over to his house after school. He lived just down the block from my house, and we'd fire up the I remember their TV, their like CRT TV was their TV, but also if he wanted to play the ColecoVision, they had this giant archaic KVM switch to switch it over or something, and then we would play ColecoVision. I remember the tourney control, like the pad with the numbers on it.
Yeah, and it's like a weird stick, a bit like a gearbox, like a
It wasn't even a.
It was like a ball joint stick, and it was very long and sort of spindly. Was it?
Well, this one was just more like a dial.
Oh,
it was kind of like the rectangle, and it had like the curly phone cable, and it had like the dial, and you'd turn it to go left and right. And I think maybe there was a button. I don't remember.
And there was like 6 versions of Pong, but they were called like hockey and soccer, and was it that kind of thing? Yeah.
I remember playing like maybe Gauntlet and Ghouls and Ghosts.
Really?
I think.
Wow.
But also hilarious. Pac-Man and come on, Space Invaders.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
But I also had a friend down the street who he had his first kid ever that I remember that had an NES, and I think he had his parents liked to buy lots of stuff. He was always the kid at school that had like the new whatever, right? Sure. And he had, it must have been 85 or 86, and he had a Nintendo, and he had Super Mario Brothers, and I think like Icebreaker, the Icebreaker game, I think.
It's the Ice Climber, the 2 dudes that go up through the little levels and stuff.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. But I remember playing Super Mario Brothers, and I was just like, what? I thought it was so cool. And I remember the controller, and I remember it was brand new too. And like the buttons were really stiff because it was just like he got it like before, but
before everybody else had it, sort of thing.
But like growing up after that, I'm the oldest of 3 kids, and we're all pretty close in age. So we, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was like, maybe 10 or 11 or 12, probably like 9 or 10, I think. But we all sort of pooled our Christmas money one year, and we went to Florida for Christmas holidays because we would drive down there. It's like a 2-day trip, and we drive down to Florida, go to Disney World and all that stuff.
Sure.
And me, my brother and sister pooled all our money, and we bought the Nintendo, the NES pack that had the laser gun and the track, the World Class Track Meet.
Right.
The triple game cart. And I don't remember the toy store, but I remember just being in this mall and having like this gargantuan box, and just like thinking it was like I don't know, it was like the greatest moment in my life.
A gateway to like just everything amazing, just there in your hands. That's so like I wonder these days. I mean, our kids and my daughter, I can see when she gets things she really wants, and she will still kind of get that, but it seems to be so fleeting now. It seems to be that what she gets, I really, really want this. Oh my God, I want this, and then they get it. And then within I've got a single child, so I wouldn't say we intend to spoil her, but clearly she's going to get all the resources.
Sure.
But I feel like within 48 to 72 hours, she's already making a list for the next day of gifts, and I just don't think, like, I can remember when I got my first bike, kind of like a BMX, and it was that same feeling of like, I'm unstoppable. This is a game changer. Like, oh my God. And we lived way out in the country and like around small towns. It was like, these days we find out things weren't so cool, but generally things were pretty cool. So
they were cool to you.
They were cool to us. And it's like the same thing when you get given this, especially if you've been to your friend's house and he's got it, and you're just getting a taste of it and a whiff of it. And now you're like, I've got a smorgasbord of this now in my own home.
Yeah.
And the first thing that impresses me about that story is that you and two siblings were like, huddle in, guys, let's get our cash together and let's make this work. Because often it's like my brother had it and I wasn't allowed to touch it until, or my dad bought it, and until like he got through Zelda, we couldn't touch it. Like that's that's awesome that you guys could make that work.
There was our own, like our own internal politics of who got to play what games when, and but sort of back to your original point, I think the thing that we sort of as younger generation experienced was the anticipation, right? Because like now, like my daughter might want, she wants a book or something. She wants the new blah, blah, blah book. And my wife will just order it on Amazon and it'll arrive in a couple of days, or we'll get to walk down to the kids bookstore down the street on the weekend or something, and she'll buy a book. But when we were kids, when we wanted that, Nintendo, right? I'd say, Mom, can I have a Nintendo? And she'd go, yeah, no, you're out of luck. And so we would see it at, a kid that had it, and the kids at school on the school bus would be talking about it. And we'd go to the shop, because that's what you did in the 80s. You'd go to the shopping mall after dinner, just walk around and bump into your friends and stuff. But you'd look at the Nintendo in the toy store and you're like, oh, I want it. You're just drooling for it. And then once you have means, right? Like let's pool our money. And if we have this, and, we'll ask Dad if we can have $20, and then we'll have enough money to buy. And it was done. And we had it. And
it's funny when I have these kinds of conversations, it starts to sort of trigger a few memories. And I can remember probably at the age of around, I guess 10 or 11, because my brother, I've got a younger brother. I've got two younger brothers, but the one that existed at the time is 5 years younger. So we were old enough to kind of go out to the malls and things. And my dad promised to me one day, we were looking at one of the hobby stores, the Tamiya cars, like the Hornet and the Frog and those earlier ones. And I can remember seeing like the Hornet and the Frog and just thinking, or the Grasshopper, just thinking, I just want one so bad. And one day my dad said, no worries, we'll make it happen. And it never did. Never, ever, 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 ever did. And it's like, I got a lot of other stuff. It's no big deal. Like I don't have any therapy sessions because of it.
Sure.
But there's always in me this feeling of, I need to just get one. I just need to, now I've got adult money. And I think for me, some of this stuff with like all the retro gaming and stuff, it's almost a bit similar. It's a life that I missed out on. It wasn't that I wasn't in a salt mine or in a coal mine as a slave child, but my life didn't facilitate that. We had other things going on, and now I can kind of go back and sort of see what all the fuss was about. And I love watching on YouTube. Sometimes you'll find videos of like someone who just randomly walked around like a Toys R Us in like 91, and there's just like the walls of all the things that,
oh man,
now you're like, oh my god, if you could have just grabbed one of each for $4 out of the bargain bin. And I am.
I back when I was maybe in my late teens, probably early 20s, I had a friend who he worked at a Toys R Us kind of near me, and I would come, we'd go and like hang out, and me and my friends, we'd go and sort of loiter around Toys R Us while we were waiting him to get off work. And I remember like I would usually find myself either in front of the Star Wars figures or the video games. And I remember like just seeing a wall, just walls, like massive walls of like Game Boy games. And like I remember I had a part-time job and I had some money, but I didn't want to at the time spend it on games, but I just remember seeing them and being like, if I could go back in time, I'd say, you dum-dum, buy all those games, put it in a box, open it up in 20 years. You'll pay
buy yourself a Tesla. Or whatever. Whatever. 2 Teslas. That's right. A
Tesla and a boat.
I'm gonna what do we got here? That one of these pictures on the Instagram is Elf on the Shelf. It's a funny thing. It started so fun for us, and now it's like Christmas rolls around. I'm like, oh man, it's so much work.
We make sure my kids aren't around. My wife and I, we kind of the last few years, because my oldest she's 7.5, she's going to be 8, and she's starting to get in that sort of gray area where she's like questioning fairy tale type stuff. But my younger daughter, she's 4.5, and she's
loving it.
She's innocent and shall remain so. But my wife and I both kind of like loathe Elf on a Shelf. We like sometimes we'll be like, oh, she's going to the North Pole for a week or something, and like girls buy it. They're like, okay, she's gone for a week, and we're like, we're off.
Oh,
and
nice.
You'd be like, do you want to do the elf tonight? No, I got to do it. I did it last night.
Okay. I know, it's funny, isn't it? There's an Australian female comedian called Celeste Barb, and my wife follows her on Instagram, and she's a funny chick, but she put up a story once, and it was like, she said to her husband, go and do it, go get one, go get an Elf on the Shelf. So they've got 3 kids, and so he doesn't really know what's going on. He comes home and puts 3 elves on the table, and she's like, you have no idea how much you've just ruined our life. 3. Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
Yeah. So,
you got to explain it all like quick.
Justify it and plan it, and it's good. And then sometimes when over Christmas, my daughter will be with her grandparents, and we'll like do a bunch and just sort of take the photos, and then just each day you just trickle them out.
Oh sure, yeah. It's like planned content.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Anywho, so I guess as we sort of as I move sort of looking through your Instagram here, and I start to see, and this may be something you did a while back as well, but I start to see some fairly arty kind of shells. I'm going to assume they're like your own stuff. Like I'm sort of up around just past the elf there, and there's some that are kind of like just lots and lots and lots of different colored dots, lots of sprinkles from inside. So I often wonder, like with creating shells and that, is when you do like an arty shell, like a DIY shell, is that related to like your daily life as an artistic creative type person, or are you like, don't get no offense meant out there, but some boring accountant engineer that needs color in their life and Game Boys that facilitate that?
No, like I'm all my life I've kind of been an artist. I'm a graphic designer, web developer, sort of by trade. But I guess I work sort of 3/4 time at work. Like I don't work like a full day. I work part of a day, and then the rest I do. I'm a dad, right? But I'm also like I said, I'm an artist. When I was younger, I was like really into graffiti. I did I was one of those kids that would tag your mailbox in your neighborhood. But I don't do that anymore. I'm a grown up, and I go to grown up jail if I get in trouble.
That's right.
But I still I sort of I've been doing graffiti forever, and it's sort of kind of part of me and my identity, I think.
Cool.
And I don't do it as much anymore just because I'm old and I just can't be bothered to go do stuff like that. But
so you're talking legit graffiti on a wall with cans.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you look down my feed, there's I went painting in the fall in October with some friends of mine.
Right.
So there's some of my stuff there, but
your second poster, the second shell of this account is a silver pocket that's had graffiti done to it. And I was like,
oh yeah,
that's mad. That looks really, really, really mad.
I got it right here actually.
Oh man, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
Graffiti is such an odd thing, isn't it? That when done well, it's such an amazing thing to see.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side of it, which is it's a bit like a beautiful car, and you're like, that's a beautiful car, until it's making noise in your street at 2 a.m.
Sure.
And it becomes a problem for you. When graffiti has that two sides of it, it's some of it you see and you're like, holy, especially when, and I think we fail to acknowledge the fact that you look at something on a wall somewhere and it's say the letters are 4.5 feet high, and you're like, that's amazing. And then you see the little bings on the corner and the little, that kind of cartoony kind of highlighting and stuff. And then you sort of step back and go, and it's more like when you step up to the wall and you're like, oh wow, it makes no sense when you're so close to have that talent to be able to make something make sense.
Yeah. That's hard to do.
It's the perspective, and I can barely write on a piece of paper and make the words fit and all the letters be the same height by the time I get to the edge, let alone I've only got this much wall and this is going to happen the first time. Obviously, there's a period of progression where you just you start with
practice
your initials and you just do circles and squares. But amazing graffiti. It must, as a graphic artist, it must it must be fairly releasing for you because it's less conforming, it's more free flowing. It's not just
absolutely
squares and spaces and real estate that just must be filled to the maximum of each point of text and borders and blah 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 blah.
Totally. Yeah. I think I like to do lots of different things, but I guess I sort of merged the two things. Like I was doing like Game Boys, but more like I was like building them and fixing them and modding them and stuff. But I was also kind of doing paintings and stuff. But I didn't really think the graffiti paintings I was doing was really all too exciting for me. And then
try telling Banksy that.
Oh right. Oh, he wouldn't listen to me.
No. He, she, they. But God knows what's going on there.
I guess, but I just kind of one day I just thought with the graffiti pocket, it was like an old, I was reshelling some stuff and I had this like really old, it was nasty. And I thought like this, I'm going to try to make the ugliest Game Boy I could. And I started like kind of scuffing it up and making it look, but then it just sort of kind of evolved into this kind of experimental kind of, I was doing like kind of graffiti splatters and, I had spray painted another shell for my one daughter. She wanted her own Game Boy. So I used some, you can see it there. There's like orange and pink and blue, I think.
With the yellow lens.
Yeah. So
cool.
I just, that was sort of like the beginning evolution of doing that stuff. And I guess I just wanted to make a Game Boy that I've never seen before. Like there's so many there's so many creative people that do some like wild stuff that I would never imagine to do. But then I was like, I just kind of challenged myself to try to like, I want to make something that I haven't seen yet. And it's still evolving. And like, I don't know where I'm going to go with that yet.
When I look at that silver graffiti pocket, the V1, it makes me kind of think of, say, like, growing up in high school, everybody used the whiteout pens like on everything.
Sure.
Wrote their names and stuff. And you can imagine the amount of Game Boys over the history of time since the first Game Boy that have had whiteout and bits of paint and they've been decorated. And they, that's just thing. You look at that and you're like, that's just some 14-year-old kid who snuck his Game Boy into algebra class and he's just like, well, they might make me wash it off the trains, but I don't have to wash it off my Game Boy. And I don't want to stand there forever. And this take can't be done over. And it's super cool, mate. Super cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah. So I guess you said you still go out and paint a bit. You still
well, not really per se. Like I will I have friends that are also sort of my demographic that still go out painting. They're grown-ups with jobs and mortgages and but they still go out painting all the time. Some less. I guess I do it maybe I might go out a couple times a year maybe with my friends. I don't do like illegal stuff anymore.
I was gonna say I don't want you to incriminate yourself, but what do you guys do? Do you find a wall and just maybe paint over it the next day in guilt and go, oh no, we're gonna, or like how do you find space now?
Well, usually because like I'm some of my, I guess my grown-up graffiti friends, they like everybody knows each other, right? And there's guys that will it's usually someone will be throwing on like a graffiti festival somewhere. And they'll just invite us. The friend of mine lives outside of Toronto and he has sort of a company and he does graffiti interior murals and exterior murals.
Beautiful.
And so he just throws these little kind of graffiti jams and he'll be like, hey, they got I got 30-foot wall and a couple boxes of paint. If you guys want to show up, they'll feed us and sometimes they'll give us a little cash or something or pay for gas or something. Cool. And you just I'm not doing it for just kind of doing it as a day out, right?
It's just a bit of a social thing, bit of a hang. It's like when you see a bunch of kind of older dudes, with long skateboards or big wheel BMXs and just
like going out playing golf or like I bet you guys will go out and play golf for a day. I'll just go out with my friends and we'll paint a wall somewhere.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So yeah, have you? I mean, most of your Insta here is very Game Boy focused, but do you have in aside this other retro gaming? Like, do you have a secret, like, I don't know, Xbox 360 collection, or are you a big SNES fan, or is there anything non-retro gaming? Like maybe you collect ceramic kittens. I don't know. What else does Andy collect?
I sold all my ceramic kittens.
Oh,
they're gone.
Okay.
I guess I'm always collecting stuff. I guess always kind of have been. Yeah. I collected bikes for a while, but I had to get rid of that.
Motorcycles or bicycles?
No, bicycles.
Okay.
Bring, bring.
Yeah. Bicycles. What were you sort of focusing on? I mean, I'm a cyclist. I love to talk about cycling.
Sure. I think I was telling a Nintendo DIY before. At one point, I had 7 bikes, but it was just like I would buy some junker, or I would just find a junky bike and fix it up, and put $50 into it and flip it and sell it or something.
Yeah. So that's a tough
just
market
for fun,
because there's a lot of bikes around for $50 these days.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? There's a movie called Clunkers. It's about where mountain biking started, like in California, like up there. There's a big mountain range northeast of San Francisco. So there was like 2 sides. And so Clunkers was basically a bunch of hippies that would take like kind of like these like World War II era Schwinn bikes with the tanks and all the chain guards and all that, the big bars and stuff. Yeah. And I think some people would call them bloomers because they would have big fat tires on them.
Right.
And they would basically take them up to the top of this mountain. And back then, a lot of it was just sort of like big fire road. And then eventually they built some tracks in and just bombed down these tracks with like an old foam helmet. We're talking about like Gary Fisher and a bunch of people like that later became big names in mountain biking history. But back in the day, and Clunkers, I think you'd really appreciate. I mean, they were just eventually they were like, we're doing this pretty quick. Let's see who's the quickest. And they would,
race like each other down the hill,
race down this hill for a bag of wheat sort of thing, and just have a really good time. And then there was like this bunch of guys from the other side of the hill that turned up, and they were actually running gears. And they're like, whoa, and everything just exploded. And that was basically where mountain biking started, from these little old,
I love that,
World War II era posty kind of bikes. And eventually they realized these things are breaking all the time. We're losing teeth. We need to build these correctly ourselves from scratch. And the custom mountain biking industry was born there. And then just when you see people that love something so much and they just run with it, let's just make something happen. No one's going to do this for us. I look at the industry. The industry today is bananas, and they've got those guys as innovators and very large pairs of balls to thank for the industry.
Yeah. Well, just like Game Boys, right? Like 5 years ago, there was like Kitch Bent and like a couple other places, but like there was like nowhere to get Game Boy stuff, and you had to kind of MacGyver something together. But like now there's all these, there's a new screen, there's like a new IPS screen coming out every 6 months or something now.
Every 4 to 6 weeks, it seems.
Yeah.
Even you watch a few people on YouTube, it's like, here's the new version of this, version 4, and it's like, oh my gosh,
I haven't even got the last 2 ones.
Yeah, that's exactly right. My problem with it is I find I'm so far behind. Like, I want to build one of Zypher Designs, the slab. But I need but I've had to order a certain screen, which is kind of like 2 or 3 generations ago. And so you're forced to go down the AliExpress road, which isn't terrible. But at the same time, there's always more dice than to be rolled than someone that has got current screens. So
I was actually looking into I had all that stuff in my cart at one point in time, and I just was like, I already have 17 projects on the go. I don't need an 18th project on the go.
Yeah. So you were collecting bicycles there for a while. What else?
Mostly, like I have like little heaps of stuff all over the place. I've kind of inadvertently been collecting PS3 games. I don't have tons. I have maybe like 20 or 30. I just kind of came into them, sort of. I mostly have my sort of main collection, besides collecting Game Boys and handhelds. I also like to collect kind of weird, obscure, crappy handhelds. I don't know why.
I saw one there that someone, I think Nintendo Wide sent you, which is the
the
KF 2000.
Oh, this puppy right here.
That is, it's got a Game Boy lens,
Oh man.
like a
So
DMG
this,
lens. What is
yeah,
this? Is this
they're
Russian? Is it some weird Russian thing where they take everything and just make it look slightly odd?
no, it's Chinese. It's
Oh,
they're
okay.
from China. I bought this like maybe like a year ago from Nintendo DIY. He had a bunch of them and he was selling them, and I was like, I was like, it was a reasonable price, and I was like, sure. I've always kind of wanted to see one of these, and I got one, and it. He said it didn't work, and I cracked it open and I got it to work. There's no sound still, but the screen is the internals are different than if you've ever looked inside a DMG. It's very much different than what you'd find inside a DMG. Right. But the screen, like the actual lens, plastic lens, is exactly a DMG lens. I could put a replacement, except there's no LED light. A DMG has a little LED that appears next to the screen, and this one doesn't have it. And no one makes them.
So that lens that's on it, so anybody can go and catch up. What we're talking about is like a purpley semi-translucent, and it's got what looks like one of the original gray DMG lenses. And even across the top, it's got the kind of bit of red and white pinstripe and dot matrix with stereo sound. So that is the original lens. That's not a DMG lens that someone put on it.
Yeah. No, this is the original lens.
Wow, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I know it's a strange little thing. It's kind of, it's lighter than a regular DMG, and like I said, the insides, I cracked it open once, and I think there was like a dried spider inside, maybe. But I haven't washed it or cleaned it or really. I just tried to get it to boot, and I got it to boot, but it's neat. And I was actually thinking that I would like to one day, take it apart and give it a bath and try to find. The buttons on it are a little strange. They kind of look like the D-pad and the AB kind of look like that you would find on a GB Boy.
Right. Yeah, the D-pad looks kind of like concaved.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of oddly comfortable.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. So do you think its purpose is to play regular Nintendo Game Boy cartridges?
Yeah. Right. From what I gathered, I read it's sort of like I think in like Reddit, maybe. They back in the, I guess, late 80s, early 90s, when Nintendo was coming out with their stuff, with their Game Boy product line, they were selling in Hong Kong, but for whatever reason, they weren't selling in China, like mainland China. So China, a manufacturer there made a clone. Essentially, you can play. It'll play like any regular gray Game Boy game.
Will work in it. That's pretty cool. I just sort of looked it up, and I can see like a pure white one. And yeah, man. I mean, that's kooky. I'd be more than happy to have that sitting on my shelf in any condition. That is so cool.
It's kind of neat.
It's always so painful talking to interesting people with other interesting things that are like, I'm gonna go looking for one of those. I'm at the moment I'm in this really bizarre kind of like vortex of Disney Infinity. You know that thing?
Yeah, I'm not really into it though.
It's just a game. I've got a Wii U which I jailbroke, so I stuck it on that, and it's kind of like Skylanders, but it was a little bit different, and I won't get into it too much. But I've like, they're kind of like on Facebook Marketplace, and I've got a bunch of them. And they're only like, you stick them on this little tray thing, and then you can play with it in the game, and you can level it up, and then you get like these sort of clear ones that are like, we've got one around here somewhere. Oh, here's one. Other people probably going, dude, we don't care about your childish stuff. You put these on, and these are like the play sets. So when you put these on, you unlock a certain like adventure mode. And so they kind of released the game, but then they released the play set. So you have to buy a play set which have one of these and a couple of figures. And the whole idea is you kind of like get through all the games, and then you can take Luke Skywalker into like Frozen Land, or you can bring Mickey Mouse into Star Wars Land. Like that cross IP.
I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of rad, but the figures are, and it's got a kind of like a Minecrafty feel to it, in that by the time they got to 3.0, It's more about your toy box and all your things, which you unlock, or you power up your dudes and you get points and you buy stuff. And so you can create Disney worlds. And and then what you can also do, which is pretty easy, is you can do stuff like when you're doing your stuff with your character, these little sparks come out. Some of them are health, some of them are other stuff, and some of them like experience. And with the experience, you go up in levels, and they can max out 20. So with all this, like, you can create these little like logic controllers on the table, and there's like wave generators in this trigger box on top of a tower, so that every time it repeats and sends a wave of dudes out, they instantly die, and all the sparks come down the tower, and you just get your character to stand there, and he just gets like juiced up. And so like right now, as we're talking, my Chewbacca is standing. It's my Wii U's running over there. My Chewbacca is standing under the tower, just getting showered in power. And in about 2 hours, he'll be all beefed up. It's just,
I like that.
Yeah, it's really neat, and it's like it's very simple. It's the easy. It's the kind of the Clone Wars type animation. So it's easy to follow, and it's not complicated. And the conversations about the Senate aren't too heavy, and you can just have a good time. But I'm
just exciting enough.
Yeah, just exciting enough. But like on Facebook, you can pick up a dozen things for like $15 and this and that and the other. And you're often buying from these like people that have bought a whole bunch and they're selling off their spares and little bits and pieces.
Or their kids don't play with them anymore, right?
I think it's well and truly over. I think it was like, I get a feeling like 2016, 2017, it was done. It's finished. So I don't think it's no longer supported online. I could be wrong, but my Wii U's jailbroken, so I don't go online anyway. But it's just another, sometimes you just need one more thing to collect. And I found it.
Yeah.
It's hard when you just see a thing and all of a sudden it tickles your fancy, and it's like, I need to not keep looking for it, because when I find it, I got to have it.
I have a that sort of that type of personality, I guess. Like I one of my lots of people are sort of big. Wait, what am I trying to say here? I guess right now, yellow. Let me start again. Okay, yellow pocket PCBs, pockets of yellow PCBs. Those are kind of like the new commodity, I guess.
What's the go? Explain to me what this is, because I've seen it and I see people go, whoa, and I'm like, it does look beautiful, but what's the deal?
So I'm going to explain the best that I know from information I've gathered myself and from other nerds. That's all I need. So like they only ever occur in pockets from what I've seen. Most, like probably 95% of pockets. I have a pocket board right here. The bottom portion is white, just like white silk screened over the vias and stuff. But at one point they started to like the pockets had the sort of the atomic purple, clear atomic purple, and those had white PCBs. But they came out with, at first, I believe in 96, it was like a limited edition white clear shell, which I have. Oh, that's my other one. Like a white clear shell that had an all green PCB.
Right.
And so those are I see. The thing is, I don't know, like the scarcity. Like there's way more white PCBs. They're the main one. But there's these green ones that you would find mainly in the clear, just like the clear pockets. But also, I have the Famitsu.
Right, that's a legit
ones. That's a real Famitsu.
It's in pretty good shape. Is that the original screen? The original?
No, it's not the original. The lens. It's a reproduction lens. But
what about the screen inside it?
No, that's the screen's from another pocket. I got this one. It was missing lens and the screen was burnt, but I have a few extras kicking around.
So what's on the shell that distinguishes it as a Famitsu then?
Oh, the lettering, right? Because normal the normal lettering is just, it's silk screened on the plastic and it's just AB start select. But the Famitsu, I'm not sure, I'm not really sure about like the whole backstory with like the Famitsu
I'm looking at
brand,
yours
I
now. It's like
guess.
the select and start and the B and A are like a specific
Yeah,
lettering and
they're right.
color
And
and
so,
stuff.
and like a neat little aside with that. So, a friend of mine, Compile of Crap, who is a fellow Canadian. He's just him and Primetime Funk, Jared.
Yep.
They're both also Canadian. We kind of have like a group chat we've been sort of working on for the last couple of years, actually, where we're just nerd out about stuff. And Compile of Crap, Nathan made some uh, Famitsu shells. He wanted to make sort of aftermarket Famitsu shells so that he could put an IPS screen and stuff. So we looked around and we couldn't find any sort of anybody that like nobody made, like no one in the world makes them, right? So I used my graphic design skills and I took my Game Boy and photos and I vectorized the lettering for the front of the shell and sized it and stuff. And he was working with a printer just outside of Toronto, and the guy nailed it. And so he did Nathan made a limited run of these shells, and I think he still has a couple that are for sale. If anybody is interested.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's so much of that going on at the moment. People are just saying, I want this.
Right.
Hey, you and you, let's get over here and in this corner. And how hard is it? Well, I can do this and I can do that. And looks like we can do this. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, right? Is the sort of the global collaboration of I'll do this and you do this, and put it in a jar, shake it up, and
yeah. I'm in touch with Jonas Retro Game Evo a lot, and he's doing a lot of the overlays for the front. And
really cool stuff.
The world really is his oyster, or anybody that has the skill and the time and the motivation. I can remember when I first started talking to Jonas earlier in the year, and even last year, I was thinking about, I started playing with like water slides, and I had some success, but at the end of the day, I was like, it's not exactly what I wanted, and probably due to like not using high quality thin water slides. But I was like, you know what? If someone walked up and said, "Hey, I want a Chicago Bulls Jordan 23 GBA," you do it. You just make the water slides and just put it on. I was like, why isn't this happening? Why aren't people doing this? And seeing stuff like what Jordan does, and sorry, not Jordan does, what Jonas does, and then like what you just described there, that's exactly it. And now with all the UV printing, like, man,
it's
bespoke is still a little bit expensive, but at the end of the day, you could have anything like on any shell. Is getting bonkers. Hey,
it really comes down to like finding a good printer. Because there's lots of people. I don't want to say lots. There are companies around the world that do UV printing. Some are really good, some not so much.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's at a different degree of. I just flicked over to have a look at Nathan, Compile of Crap, and his latest post is him holding an N gauge up to his head. And you don't realize how ridiculous that is until you see someone do it. For those that aren't familiar with the Nokia N gauge, the attempt at a phone that plays games, or was it a gaming thing that can also be a phone?
I believe it was both. I think it was Lazy Game Reviews, I believe, on YouTube. He did, I'm pretty sure it was him. He did a whole half-hour show where he talked all about it, and just sort of like its rise to the market and how it totally shit the bed. And
it's so interesting to see such a large company just so poorly miss the mark. The funniest thing is like, so Compile of Crap, if you want to go and have a look at an example, I'm sure you can Google it, but you've got so it's kind of like it's taco shell shaped, but you've got to hold it like on its edge as if you're holding the taco in your hand, and then you put the exit or the entry part of all the taco ingredients up against your ear, as opposed to holding it flat like a phone. It's hilarious. And you've got the original versions, you had to like remove the battery to replace the game, and just a whole bunch of random stuff.
Oh man,
they're absolutely worth a mozza now. Like if you can, I know people that picked them up at like EB Games for like $45 each. They were just like boxes of them, and they just oh man, so
see
amazing.
I remember when they came out, there was a EB Games in my hometown. And I remember seeing like a display, a display unit, and you could pick it up and go, this is kind of weird. But I also remember going back and them clearing them out, having a sack of them, and they were, I don't know, like $20-$30 or something. And I was like, who's gonna buy those? And put them in storage and bring them out in 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Buy another Tesla.
Oh well.
Yeah.
We can only hope that
we all have things that we've purchased and sold and regretted.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that the truth? One thing that you do have is a Lefty 1989 Epiphone Les Paul standard.
Oh, yeah.
This is a guitar. I know what Les Paul means, but the relevance of Lefty 989 Epiphone and standard. What is all that? Why do you have a picture of this one particular guitar amongst all of your Game Boy stuff?
Okay.
And this takes you back as to like, maybe this is Frank Zappa.
So like I do, growing up, I'm also musical. I was in like 50 crappy punk bands in high school and stuff. But I still play sometimes. I'm not great. I'm not terrible. I'm just kind of play okay. Yeah. And I have my 1989 Les Paul standard Epiphone. I bought off some guy a long time ago who he didn't know what he had.
Right.
And then I have a Telecaster that my wife got me for Christmas a few years ago, and I have a few other guitars that are broken that I need to fix. Yeah. But sorry, my point. If you notice the date of that post, it would happen to be on the 1st of April.
Oh,
so what I did was I guess long story short, I had the house to myself that day. My neighbors were gone. My wife was at work, had the whole house to myself. So I don't often get to my neighbors. I should add, have a newborn baby. So normally I would turn my amp up to 11 and just play, right? But like it makes the whole block shake a little bit, and I don't want to, but they're gone. So I was playing my guitar, and I thought it's a really good, I just thought of a really good April Fool's prank. So I said I dropped a new song. You click on the link, and I know you can. If you want to copy and paste the link,
I'm doing it right now.
You can listen to my new song.
Okay, is this gonna? Very good. It's Rick Astley.
Yeah. I rickrolled you.
Yeah, you did rickroll me. This is hilarious. And I do get it because the other day there was something come up about, I follow the Pokemon trading card game a bit, and they're trying to roll out like a new version of the online game. And my daughter was sitting there, but someone came up and goes, "Oh, so Pokemon trading card game have decided they're gonna it's too buggy, they're not gonna roll it out." And you're like, what? And they just roll straight into Rick Astley. Never going to give you up. And my daughter's like, what the hell does that mean? And I'm like, it's sort of this universal thing for, got ya. Like, I remember when I did my first iPhone jailbreak, it was like an iPhone 3 or something.
Sure.
And you do the whole, like, you got a SSH and backdoor and this and that and the other. And then you do this thing. And it's like, all of a sudden, I power cycled it, and it's just got Rick Astley, and it's like, you've been rickrolled, bitch. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I just wanted my phone jailbreaking, and now it's got this. As soon as you Google it, it's just like, people with belly laughing, going, you got rickrolled. You didn't change your root password, blah, blah, blah. You have to start again and blow it away. And it's just like, oh, and I didn't realize it was a thing. And like, yes. Yeah. Nice one. Well played.
I just wanted to pull it out because nobody does that anymore. And
no, good times. So, you're not in some crazy old like Dead Kennedys cover band?
No, not right now. No.
Yeah.
I just kind of play at home by myself while I'm on hold.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you collect the guitars, or you just happen to have a couple? And
I just happen to. I don't want to say I collect guitars because that's a. No, I just have a couple. I have an acoustic in storage that I don't play, and I have a little crappy.
Right.
Here that I just kind of punk around.
Around. Did you kind of grow up in a punk scene, or was it something you did kind of separate to everybody else you knew? Or
I guess kind of growing up in high school, I grew up in a town called London, Ontario, which is kind of halfway between Toronto and Detroit.
Right.
And it's sort of like a medium-sized town, maybe 500,000 people-ish. And I just kind of was sort of grew up. All my friends, we were kind of into like graffiti, and punk rock, and skipping class, and being bad.
Yeah. So what was the era? What was the sweet spot for the Ramones? Because it sounds like you would have been on the wagon with the Ramones.
Yeah, a bit. I guess I was more into, like I would listen to the Ramones, I guess, but more kind of like West Coast, kind of like Orange County punk, like skate punk, Bad Religion, No Effects.
Yeah.
Kind of
Right.
stuff.
It's funny. It's funny, Ramones, isn't it? Because I have this, like, I grew up sort of in Tasmania and skating, and I was never a great skater, but at the age of sort of like late high school.
I did that too.
Yeah, late high school into kind of like early adulthood. It's a really good form of transport, and you just kind of cruising to parties. Sure. And where I grew up in Hobart, there's a lot of hills, so you got to walk up a bunch, but eventually you get to come back down the other side. So it was pretty good if you got to go to a party at the top of a hill, and then once you had your good time, you kind of cruise home. But so a lot of punk, a lot of sort of Dead Kennedys, and
sure,
I guess a lot of that sort of surf punk. There's a bunch of bands, Australian bands that we used to sort of listen to. And you sort of, there must have been some Ramones in there, but just recently I would put it on and go, it's cool, like, Beat on the Brat and a whole bunch of songs that are really good, but you're like, wow, it's kind of boring. Like, they really were just grinding it out and just making noise, and I guess people were just locking into that. It's the Ramones. It's sort of like a pillar of that era of music, but you can easily walk past it. I think I'm probably pissing off some people, but I don't care.
Oh, it's it's a required reading, I guess you could say. In that sort of the genre.
For sure. I mean, we were more into sort of like, even though it was generation before us, like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple was more our kind of jam as listeners and skaters and surfers and stuff. So Ramones was a bit like, whoa, that's just really loud and angry. And okay, that's fun for now, but I probably won't play it at home.
Yeah.
So did you have kind of like a skate scene when you were growing up as well?
Yeah, a little bit. We all just, my friend group, or just sort of my I guess my best way to say is just like all the people I associated with. We were all sort of kind of in a hip hop punk skateboard kind of weird amalgamation of.
How confusing was Vanilla Ice?
I think I was a little too young for Vanilla Ice. Came out when I was maybe when I was just like 13 or 14, maybe.
Yeah. I even when it came out, I was like, how does this dude not have a bunch of dudes from Compton just walk over and shoot him in the face?
Yeah. Well,
it's just I think so brazen to just roll like that. And he survived, and now he's killing it. He's still doing things. I saw a meme the other day. It's like him standing there, and he's got a bag of ice in each hand, and then to his left is a baby in a pram. And I was like, oh my gosh, the dude loves it. He's having a good time. Someone's like, mate, can you please hold these next to my baby so I can take a photo? He's like, sure, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Love it.
Carry ice around with me just in case I run into.
In case I stand next to a baby. Yeah, that's right.
Can I borrow your baby for a moment?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, how do you find? You said before your daughter. Sorry, I jump all over the place, but I guess I'm just
sure. So do I.
You said before that your daughter wanted a Game Boy. Because my daughter wanted the Game Boy, and I made her a beautiful Game Boy, and it's beautiful, and she loves it. She doesn't use it much, but we're going to road trip, and she's like, "I'll pack my Game Boy." And at some point in that 3 to 4 hour car drive, she'll rip it out, and I got her a copy of Super Mario World or Brothers or whatever it's called, and she's there playing it, and I'm like, that's what kids throughout the last 50 years did. With Game Boys, road trips, but now it's IPS and runs for ages, and that's just a real joy to see her experiencing that same sort of, because games like that on a road trip are they're a little bit almost meditative. There's not a lot of commitment. They're just like thinking about stuff. They die, they look at the window, they see a bunch of cows or a weird billboard, and just get back on with their life. How was it with you and your daughter? Was it a request? Did you kind of have to feed it to her, or?
I think like my oldest daughter just was kind of curious with my Game Boys, and I said one day, I'll make you a Game Boy, and she's like, okay, great. And I put it together, and I let her pick out all the colors and stuff, and she played it a bit, but she was just kind of like lukewarm to it. But then she'd see me play my 3DS, and she'd be like, I don't want to play with this little backlit thing that I have to scrunch up, and so I quickly fast forwarded to we don't have a Switch or anything at my house,
likewise,
but maybe 2018 2019 I used to buy tons of stuff from J4U because it was
love them.
Dirt cheap back then, and I was making some macros. Let's see, I at one point I would buy probably 10 or 12. Just I would buy ones that were under $10. They were so cheap. Like now they're not. I found because whatever I do for my oldest daughter, I have to do for my youngest daughter. She demands equality to her sister. So I just found two DS Lites that I had, kind of cleaned them up because they were all gross, drew some R4 cards in and just loaded them up with games. And that's like sort of like my oldest daughter, at least, that's like her main daily driver, that she wants to play. She wants to play video games. She'll like go and play like Link, or she really likes Cooking Mama right now. That's kind of a fun game.
The DS is cool, huh? I've got the same. I've got a couple of them, one for myself and one for my daughter with R4 cards. And I really kind of I think that was, I've got a 3DS too, which I adore. I really love it. Like the 3DS is, for me, there's so much to offer there that I probably, between that and the DS and other things, I probably don't need a Switch yet. Like, there's stuff, but I probably don't need it. Like I've already got everything. I get enough satisfaction. I played the Wii U a bit, and I'm sort of surprised it didn't do so great. But at the same time, I could see how it was just in that weird, awkward part of time. Where
it's like the teenager of handhelds or something.
Yeah, the awkward one. And, exactly, exactly. Yeah,
but I do the majority of my gaming just on my computer. Mainly, like if it's not handheld, I just have like emulators, or I have Dolphin emulator, or Mac has it's called Open EMU, and it's just a sort of a kind of a RetroArch type.
Like a MAME type thing.
Yeah. And I just have I have some game pads, and I just sit here and I'll play.
Do you use the 8BitO units?
No, I don't. I just I literally have like an old like Walmart like knockoff PS3 controller that I painted and took apart and fixed it, and it's actually pretty good.
Oh, that's cool. What sort of gaming are you doing on PC and stuff?
Lately I've just I just kind of dabble with I guess like GameCube. Right. Been downloading a lot of like GameCube games.
What are you playing? I've got a GameCube with the GC loader, so I'm in a similar situation, but with the OG hardware. So what's getting you into? What are you playing on GameCube? That you
mainly, I was like last month for the IG Retro Gaming Club. I can't remember the name of the hashtag, but it was Mario Kart. So I was just playing Mario Double Dash,
and
it's lots of fun.
It is,
and then I was just kind of getting into just other driving, like Need for Speed type games, or Simpsons Hit and Run. Hit and Run.
Yeah,
I can play that. I could play it for days.
I haven't got I've got it bombed up on there, but I'm like a million times. The Double Dash, my daughter is weirdly good at the balloon fight in Double Dash. Like she just, I can get 2 or 3 games ahead, and all of a sudden, I don't know, I get cocky, and she just has these massive comebacks. So she's she's the reigning Double Dash balloon fight champion of the house. Nice. I've probably told this story a few times before, but Mario Kart Wii was the first game that she beat me on. And it was a long time where I'm like, you know what, I'll give you $20 if you ever beat me on Mario Kart Wii. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, sure. And this was a couple of years ago when she was probably about 8, maybe 7, I don't know. And like when you're playing together, because of the elastic banding, you know, if I was playing and I'd be going quite well, she would come 6th or 7th because, you know, I'm kind of raising the bar and all the other characters.
Right.
But when she would play, she would get sort of like seconds and thirds and firsts and stuff. And she just got better and better. And then one day she just crushed me over a 4-race tournament. And yep, there's your $20, mate. And she was like, well, you know, 30 if I do it again. I'm like, whoa, just slow down. I think you proved your point.
She double or nothing.
Yeah, she tried, but I said, just keep the $20, man. Yeah.
One wager at a time, please.
Yeah. Have you had any like gaming kind of with your daughter yet?
Not really. No, they don't. My youngest daughter, she'll just kind of mash buttons and stuff. But my older daughter, she just kind of she's really into like reading books. She'll like go and spend hours on end in a room reading. But she'll do that when she's gaming. She'll just be like, hey, do you want $100? Do you want some chocolate? And she'll just be like, what? She'll just be playing focused. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
A lot of
it's good to see a child that will just lock in and stick to something. They see, I mean, we all kind of have this like short attention span these days. We're kind of like, we're constantly being like here and here and here, and our attention's just being drawn left, right, and center and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Does your wife get in on the gaming at all? Do you guys have a secret Mario, like Smash Brothers thing going on or something?
Well, the thing is, like, my wife doesn't like, she says she doesn't like games. She doesn't like, she's always kind of like, you know, lukewarm interested in anything gaming. Right. But if you sit down on the couch with her playing, you know, any kind of Mario Kart driving game or Tetris or any kind of puzzle game or anything, I won't have it for long because she'll just.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we've got a pretty healthy Tetris party on the Wii competition going on here.
Nice.
Yeah, my wife's quite good. She's quite good. I mean, I'm not great, but she can. You know, I can't walk into, like, we usually play like 3. A bit like tennis, where, you know, best of 5 games and best of 3 sets. And she will beat me as often as I will beat her, which is just nice. I mean, I'll kind of get some runs where I'll have several sort of nights or set games in a row, but she'll come back with just crackers where I just can't get it together. And that's really fun when they kind of come into your world a bit for a change.
Yeah. That's fun.
So, are you sort of collecting games and stuff for the Game Boys, or you just gather, you know, sort of as the stone keeps rolling, or do you have specific goals with any of these sort of things?
My main thing is, like, I don't have any like collecting goals. I just kind of like, at one point I wanted to have every pocket color, like every color of pocket, and I'm just kind of like, I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to.
The price starts to change those sorts of things, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I guess with games, I've always like, I still have a like 1 or 2 of my like original first games. I have a copy of Metroid that I bought when I was in I must have been in grade 6, maybe.
Right.
When I bought my first DMG, and I've had this copy of Metroid forever.
That's unreal.
I don't have it handy, but like, it's all faded. There's a picture of it somewhere. Sure. But I just, like, over the years, I always had. I still have my original Indigo Game Boy Advance somewhere that I won't mod. It's just sitting there dirty. I should give it a clean. But I just kind of I had some games from when I was younger that I kept. And I over the years I sold stuff and I regret that I sold it, but I just kind of I would a lot of stuff I got a long time ago too. And I would buy like job lots, right? For like donor boards and stuff. And it might come with games. And I would, last year I sold a box of probably like 100 just like crappy Game Boy Advance games for like $100 to some guy just because I didn't need them. But I use that to I try to, if I make money off of something, I'll use that to put towards something else. And I just kind of like get games if I happen to see something that looks good or an opportunity. And I've had some like a couple of good finds. Again, not really like setting out to be like, I'm going to find a copy of blah blah blah. And
yeah, I see you've got a couple of micros, or at least some micro stuff amongst it.
I do, yeah.
Do you have like one or two and just a bunch of faceplates you picked up, or?
Yeah. I have. Sort of going back to the things I regret. I bought a micro in 2005 from Toys R Us because like I read something about them coming out and I thought they were super cool. And I went to Toys R Us, I bought a micro, saved the box and everything, and I sold it a couple of years ago, like before I could have charged a bucket of money for it. But I have two. I have like a nice black one that has some power issues I need to fix, and then I have a blue one, and I just have lots of faceplates. I have I have like a couple faceplates. I won this really cool faceplate from a raffle last year. I've had some people next up places
send me a couple. The Team Rocket faceplate, and then there's like that really cool Sonic one, which seems it's confusing, but then you're like, no, that's cool kind of thing,
Yeah. And I bought a bunch of like clear micro faceplates for. I was going to paint them. I was going to do like the sort of internal splatter thing, but it just I was trying to make templates and it's such a pain in the butt. So I'm just going to stick stickers on them. And I've had like other people do like sort of like trades and stuff. So I have a whole stack of them. Just kind of it's like shoes, like, what faceplate am I going to wear today?
Yeah.
But the whole thing is my hands are really big.
Oh, for sure.
Really small.
For sure.
I always say I feel like Andre the Giant holding a kitten.
I'm huge. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, the micro, I think I might have missed the boat when I was sort of getting into this a few years ago. There was some getting around. I probably could have got a decent one for like maybe $150, and now it's like $300 for something. It drives me bonkers. Before you mentioned J4U, and even it's still cheaper for me to buy if I've got like a few projects, like I want to do like a color build and a DMG build, and maybe I'm going to do a pocket or something, which doesn't, that's like a whole year for me, to be honest. I don't do a lot of building. But if I get some shells off someone that are really nice, I want to use, or, I will go and buy, it's still cheaper for me to buy like, and you start like when you go to J4U and you filter with obviously in stock, and you start at the cheapest, and they're around about $25 to $30 US, which is around $45, and Australian basically. So I can still get 3 or 4 Game Boys of various. There might be a speaker broken, or it might be a button doesn't work, which you think is going to be probably okay. I get 3 or 4 of those shipped for like a bit over $200, and that's still pretty good, because here you're still paying $100 will get you the roughest Game Boy you've ever seen. Like, it's been sitting in the bottom of a pond. Someone's just Googled up how much of these on Facebook, and this one's worth $150. You're like, it's not. So you just got to wait for these people to. I'm just hoping these people that couldn't sell them don't just throw them away thinking, this must be absolute crap, because everything has value, just not $150. So hopefully they just put them back in the box or their drawer for another couple of years, and then they go, maybe $65, $70 is more realistic. Okay, now I will buy your Game Boy from you because it's worth my time. Yeah.
Well, that just brought me that reminded me of something. How I was talking about the yellow boards, right?
Yeah.
So the thing about the yellow boards is there's no people always ask because that so the thing was at one point I had three yellow boards. I got a couple of orders of donors, and I just happened to find the three yellow boards, and I was like, what? I've been searching for years. I'd seen pictures of them, never seen one. I had three, right? I did a build with one, I sold it, I sold another one, and I kept one that had some I had to fix it and stuff, so I had to fix some of the traces on the front and had a power regulator in it. So I just kept it because it's kind of a little dodgy, but it has this cool scar on the front.
Cool.
But there's no like formula to find out where to find a yellow board, right? Like they usually might come in like silver shells, but I've also got them in green shells. I've heard people get them in red shells from Europe, from Japanese releases, North American releases. So there's no rules, right? But so I was on J4U the other day because I was looking for something, and they always have their like main feature things, and on the front page they had a gold. It said like gold. I posted it in my story. I really hope it's still. I'm just going to dig it up because it's so ridiculous. J4U. Here we go. Oh, they dropped the price. It's yellow motherboard, Game Boy Pocket, gold Game Boy console, Japan. The other day it was here. I'll shoot you the link. It was the other day. It was like $965 US, and now it's like only a little short of $800 US. But I think somehow they sort of caught wind that these yellow boards are special, or
it's just a silver pocket from the outside
or something,
and somewhat beaten too. Like
they're just totally charging way more.
So it's just like it's like a gold, is it? Yeah, it is a gold, that kind of weird gold.
Yeah,
and it's got a burnt lens and a bunch of bashing, and it's a lot of color.
Not good shape.
No, a lot of color fading around the battery terminals, possibly even some corrosion there. Lots of corrosion on the battery terminals. And I guess that's the only way to know is like when you pop the battery cover, you can see in through that little air gap where the battery cover clips in. You can see the green there. Wow. I mean, I guess everybody's out there to make a buck, but $796 for effectively a yellow board.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's the only reason that it's that
buy
much.
Yeah, damn it. And you just like going through them like it's a bit like Pokemon cards, opening a booster and I've got the good card, and you just happen to have three at some point.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh well.
So I would call that a cash grab from people, but all their other stuff is sort of relatively priced.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing I bought from them was a light. I bought the gold Game Boy Pocket Light, and it's in like, it's in like 98% good condition.
Oh, nice.
And I bought it like, I want to say at least a couple of years ago. I only paid about $240 for it.
Oh, really?
And in this condition, I think is a really good. I think you could just about double it for what it's worth now. I have no intention of selling it, but really, really, really got lucky that time. So I have a light. So, originally I was looking at the, whatever it is, the 25th anniversary or the 20th anniversary micros, with all the Famicom colors and stuff. But,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting expensive now. So I'll just end up with probably a janky one somewhere or something. Yeah. I mean, everything's. I was looking here. What's this? MGB LCPU 02. Is this like a naked board? It's a PCB on your
right. Oh, so that is.
Are you one of these weirdos that's getting naked boards and building them component by component?
No. See, I got it right here.
Yeah, there you go.
So about a year ago, on I guess before I was on Instagram. So like a year ago in one, I think it's maybe like the Retro Future Facebook group, somebody posted, hey, there's a store on AliExpress that's selling these unpopulated boards. And I think they were about maybe like $30, like not a lot of money, like relatively speaking. And it's a double completely unpopulated board. And so I thought it was super cool. It's clean, and so I bought it, and I got to my house, and I posted photos, and a lot of people are saying like, oh, it's counterfeit. But like, my argument is, if someone is going to go to the trouble of counterfeiting like no one is going to go to the trouble of counterfeiting a perfect Nintendo.
I think in adult words, it's called a reproduction, which 98% of the Game Boy modding market is using. Everything, buttons, shells, screens.
It's all reproduction.
It's all reproduction. That's a long draw.
But so the thing is, like, I was lurking around the AliExpress store, and they sell surplus like electronics, like old surplusy stuff. Old new stock. Old new stock. So I messaged I messaged because messaging sellers on AliExpress can be, you don't always get a clear answer, but I just said, like, where did you get these? Are they real? And they just said they're old failed boards that we're selling. So I suspect what happened was they have 1997 on them. In 1997, these boards, they just didn't pass like a QA test at the Nintendo factory. And normally at factories, when stuff doesn't pass QA, they'll recycle it. They'll grind it up,
just destroy it. Yeah.
But someone probably kept these, and they probably sat in pallet in the warehouse for 20 years, and someone found them and said, hey, we can sell these.
Yeah, right. So what do you think? Do you think they're old stock, or do you think they're repros? Or
I think it's old new stock. Like it's see, if someone I guess the thing is, like, if someone went to the trouble of reproducing these,
it's a lot of work, right?
It's a lot of work, right? I'm sure, like, the parts they could like refabricate these from the dies and stuff at the original factory, but like, still, that's a lot of work to do, right? If you look at like a counterfeit or a counterfeit or knockoff PCB on like a game, for example, like, they're bad. Like, they have the globs, and they're like the whole, like, they're a mess. Like, they're not made, like, they're not made with quality. Where
when you think about the complexity of like an entire Game Boy board, and I think this is well before the time when you could just go on some archive of, saved whatever the file is, and you can kind of give that to a PCB creator and go, hey, here's a file from 1989. Can you remake a bunch of these? You'd be like, this needs a lot of work to be able for software 40 years later to understand what this even means. So you probably would have to go and create that entire file, whatever that file's called, from scratch based on the original. And it'd be interesting. Have you sat down with like an original from a Game Boy and kind of like just done a quick like?
I have.
That looks pretty similar.
I've looked at another. When I got this, I looked at a board that was the same, that had the same model, and it's the same. Like, it's totally the same.
Yeah, to make it, you can't tell the difference.
Like, I'm like, being a designer, I feel like I have a good eye for like typography and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like the font typography. It's exactly the same. If maybe the traces are dodgy, I don't know. But like, I just feel like if someone's going to go to all the trouble of perfectly reproducing a Nintendo board,
like, for $30,
why are they charging $30 for it? Yeah.
Oh man, that's cool. There's so much stuff like that. Then what I was doing yesterday, I was watching some YouTube, and I found this couple of an American guy and Australian guy wandering around Okinawa, obviously in Japan. And there was like an old kind of tuner / speed shop with the front doors, the roller doors down, and the old sign was rusted, just in the middle of a town. And down the side was parked all these old Japanese sports cars, like an old WRX and a Skyline and this and that and the other. And
sure.
I was like, literally there was still wheels and tires stacked inside and parts and things. And they, at that, I don't know how old this video is, but at the time they didn't know the history. Like, it's like maybe someone had died and the family had inherited the shop. They just rolled all the roll doors down and just walked away. And there's these cars just sitting there. Last time they were insured, registered or whatever, was like 20 odd years ago. And I always just, like, when I think the Light was the first Game Boy I'd bought from Japan. And then I got later from J4U a couple of DMGs for work and stuff. And I get this kick when I get this DMG, and it may be just that little bit of weird sentimentalism, but I get this Game Boy and I'm like, and I open it and I'm like, so the last time these two shells were apart was when it was made in a factory. Late 80s. And so you kind of open it up and it's like, it's a bit like opening the Ark of the Covenant sort of thing. And you don't know who put it together and what its life was like. And I kind of say a little bit of a little like, thank you for sacrificing yourself. My old eyes can't play you in your original form. I'm going to use a lot of you. And you kind of put that shelf to the side. And I know some people have boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of shells, but at such a small scale for me, I can still keep the shell, but that nostalgia of, it just blows me away. And I like these boards are like, wow, they literally could have sat in a box on a pallet in a shed for 30 years. And someone's like, these could still be, people will pay for these things. They're crazy. And you did.
Well, there's one of my favorite things is to open up to get a donor Game Boy and just like having to give it a little extra crack just to break the screw that's been in there since 1996. Right.
It's funny when especially when you're looking on J4U and you might be looking for a pocket or something, and all the different pockets have got like just random stickers on them. And obviously some 10-year-old kid is like put the stickers of his favorite Pokemon all over it. And you're I don't know if I could take them off, because that to me it's a bit like someone's graffiti. Like that's what they personalized it. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I won't buy that one.
I know there's a couple there's a couple people on Instagram that sort of honor and cherish like sort of found stickers, right? I know Pixel Fix and Poop Scarf, they both have Sticker Boys shells that they've they got the original shells from wherever, and they have like the stickers from on them 1996.
That's cool. Oh, there's so much nostalgia. Probably I don't want to keep you too much longer because it's getting late there, but there's a cartridge here that I want to ask you about.
Sure.
And you've just got, it just says Jumbo Video.
Oh,
so I thought it was a NES cartridge, and there's a label on it. It's a SNES cartridge, and there's a label on it that says viewing problems. Most viewing problems can be adjusted by tracking. If problems still persist, please inform upon return Jumbo Video. Oh, so this is Jumbo Video was the video store. Right. London, Ontario. Please be kind, rewind. You don't have to deal with that anymore. Oh, right. So what's the deal?
No. Okay, so it's sort of obscure chain of events. In one of my earlier posts, I went to visit my parents. And I brought a bunch of my games back that I had, including that Doom complete in box, Doom, and like a couple other things. And so there was, I had 2 or 3 games that I brought home that I have a SNES in a box sitting over there, not doing anything. I don't even have the cables to hook it up. I'll hook it up eventually. So I was scrolling through Instagram one couple days ago, probably last weekend, and someone was doing a claim sale, and someone I followed, I happened to just totally coincidence scrolling through, and I saw it Ken Griffey Home Run Derby or something for SNES, like the cart, and I was like, I have the box for that. Like I have the SNES box that I bought whenever ago in my box of junk for my parents. Mm-hmm. So I saw the guy that claimed it. I'm friends with, and So I just said, hey, do you need the box? And he's like, yeah, I actually do need the box. So I said, I sit in my basement, not do anything, pay for postage, and it's yours. And I was digging around and I found another game, just like the game in the box, like a crappy golf game. But I said, let's send it along too. We came to an arrangement and stuff. But it was just the back of this golf game. I just thought it was like an awesome retro sticker. Because even back then, in it's the late 90s, when you'd rent a video game, we'd all snicker and be like, oh, you can't rewind a video game. Right?
That's classic. I guess it's just that generic label I just slapped on everything.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That is really cool. Yeah. I mean, my mother-in-law keeps her eye out for stuff. And I think like the first time she kind of grabbed something, she's like, oh, I'll just see if I can get the price off it. I'm like, no. Just leave that. Because, that was like, I think when I bought the Mega Drive 2 a couple of years ago, and it came with a bunch of games. It was just a guy who's like, oh, my brothers and I had this growing up. There's lots of like sports games and stuff. And one of the games, and these are all in case, which is pretty easy for Mega Drive because it's all the hard clamshells.
Sure,
one of the games was Theme Park, and the receipt was in there for it. And I sort of regret selling it now. But at the time I was like, I just want the console. I'm not interested in any games because I was getting an EverDrive for it. But the receipt for Theme Park, which I guess came out early 90s or something, was like $90 Australian.
Yeah.
Back then, I was like, that's cool to have that receipt, but I can't believe they paid that much for this game, which is not really that great a game back in the day. That's probably like, I don't know, probably over $200 these days for a game, in inflation. But the receipt alone was like, oh my God, that's who keeps receipts? That's great.
I have a vivid memory of when Super Mario 3 came out. There's a kid that I knew that I got Super Mario 3 and you don't. No. But I remember vividly seeing it at Kmart, maybe for $99.99.
Wow.
That's Canadian. And Canadian is about the same as Australian.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think. But I remember it was $100 and I was like, wow. And now it's not.
Right. Yeah, now it's not.
Yeah.
Oh man. Good old days, I guess. And you just I think it's I've spoken to a number of people about buying and collecting, and I think a lot of people have gone from I'm going to kind of like a completionist attitude to what makes me feel good, and I'll just focus on that. And I think that's safer. It's safer.
Yeah.
You get more I think you get more satisfaction from just buying what you want as opposed to shooting for collections and specific items, because everything's cool when you just get what you want. Sort of thing,
Totally. That's what I do. I just if I like it, I get it. And if I don't like it, I might sell it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're just chugging along. You have no sort of plans to leave your day job and become a Game Boy creator or
I don't know. I would like, ideally, I would like to, I've been really enjoying lately, doing builds and like making custom shells for people. I have a few commissions sort of on the go right now. And if I could do this full time, it would be great. I don't, between you and me and everybody listening, I don't foresee that happening, but I just kind of do it because I love it and it's fun, and I want to. I like sharing my art with people, and if people want to buy my art from me, I love that too, because they get some of my art.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
No worries. Well, look, we might sort of start wrapping it up, but I could probably talk to you about a whole bunch of stuff for hours and hours. I'm always interested in what people's kind of upbringing in retro gaming was, but especially, from another country, like what was it like being a Game Boy nerd in Canada, or what was it like being a Game Boy nerd in the UK? And seeing the difference in, it's almost like when you ask people about growing up, like their culinary growth, like, well, we had a lot of steak and veg, or we had a lot of pasta in this part of the world and stuff. So
sure. Yeah.
It varies from I mean, some people, I think, like most of the Americans, don't even say SNES; they say Super NES. Whereas I think as Australians and Canadians will go SNES, and then there's like the Genesis and the Mega Drive. So
sure,
it's always interesting. So look, we'll go on with a few sort of shout outs, I guess, for lack of a better term. You've mentioned a bunch of people. I'll sort of remind you of who those were, and you can elaborate or add or whatever. I always do one myself, which is for this episode is GB Retrospect, Nate Salpus. And look, it's a lot of good builds. Recently hit 1,000 followers. And doing it for those that want them, but just I guess with Nate's Instagram, it's just super clean and the photography is amazing, and he's got some
he has really nice stuff,
some nice backlighting, and I think for anybody that's kind of looking to people will sort of say, how do you get good photos, this, that, and the other? Not me. I don't really get great photos. I just sort of use my crappy Android phone and a bunch of Instagram filters, and you can pull off a couple of tricks, but people will soon work it out. But there definitely is an art or a skill, or you need a certain space to make it look really enticing. And a lot of Nate's photos are like that. A lot of clean builds. It's a bit like taking like an old Mustang and making a new Mustang, and all of a sudden you're like, I can see the Mustang, but I can see the current, the modern take on it. So I would encourage. I just like having things in my feed that I really enjoy. Like it's never really occurred to me, but one of his builds that kind of catches my eye every time I flick through is it's a yellow DMG with a black lens and black buttons. And I'm not sure, but I'm like, that looks mad. I really freaking like it. I think there's a bunch of boxy pixel stuff in here too, which is well out of my price range, but holy cow, it looks gorgeous when you see a bunch of it in one place.
It is fancy. It is nice fancy
stuff. And that's me. So like throughout the conversation, we've mentioned a few people: Tendo209, Compile of Crap, Primetime Funk Mods, Pixel Fix, Poop Scarf, just a couple of names that I've just jotted down. So look, this is your opportunity to add to the list. This is not an ambush, and no one's going to get forgotten. And go for it.
I guess I kind of, coming into this, I met so many awesome people. Sort of up till when I started my account, I was just very green at Instagram and sort of trying to figure. I was old man using Instagram. Kind of figuring out as I go. But everybody's super kind and helpful and friendly and encouraging. I maybe want to focus more on my fellow Canadians. Mr. T Peg City. He was a lot of help, sort of giving me a little insight and encouragement and stuff, especially when I was starting off. Next Stop Please has been very also a good sort of collaborator. She's in Toronto. Nathan Compile of Crap and Jared. Primetime Funk. Good collaborators. Little Leaf Modding. In Quebec. She's I talked to her a lot about modding stuff. She's also does some awesome work too. I'm sure you're familiar with her work.
Very much.
Who else? Oh geez. Oh, I feel bad if I'm forgetting.
If there's other people that you think later on, you just shoot them through. I'll probably get some clarification and I always put this in the show notes. So if after this you go and sit on the toilet for 20 minutes and you're like, oh, this person, you just shoot them through, It's all good.
But I also want to, shout out to some of the other like kind of painter, sort of shell painter,
for sure,
Game Boy artists, like Kiki 8-bit, Pixel Dust, and come on, brain, Gloom Rains. She's a great artist.
Kelsey's a good egg too.
Daniel Bloom. He's good. So many people. CatX Modding and Geekemy and Double Jump Customs. We have like sort of like a group that we all talk about painting stuff. We chat with sometimes. It's good, creative. You know.
What was the one before Double Jim? After
I said Cadex modding.
Yep.
And Geek Me.
All right.
I'll get you the link.
Yeah. I'll get some clarification later. Hey,
when you look at a name so many times, then you try to say it. Like, how do you pronounce that?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So many. Yeah. I've been just chatting with people that are trying to think who else. Takezo Retoro.
I was about to say, when you're trying to work out names you can pronounce, he always comes up. And when you read it and you look at his name, you're like, it's not that complicated. You just break it down. And then you look away and try and say it. You're like, oh my God, it's a weird mind bender sort of thing.
Yeah. I chat with him about that's the thing. I talk to so many people about just wild ideas and just creative feedback on things. Super Gozy Land in Spain. I chat with Hugo a lot about some shell designs. I might be doing a collab with him a bit. Nice. Martin, Mr. Noodles mods.
Mr. Noodles. Always makes me hungry.
Oh yeah, totally. Funny thing with Martin, we both sort of kind of came on the scene at the same time, and we both kind of were like, hey, we're both new, so let's be friends. And we were chatting all the time, and we're doing trades. One of my shells that I actually wrote Noodles in graffiti.
Wicked.
He commissioned me to do a kind of a graffiti weather destroyed shell. I sent that off to him, so we'll probably be seeing it soon. Man, who else?
You get me thinking. I haven't yet asked anybody like commission like an actual Pixel Pod cover shell yet, but gee, a graffiti Pixel Pie podcast pocket or something, that'd look mad. Yeah, we'll see how we go.
Step into my office.
Okay. Will you accept a like a Les Paul in payment for it? Because I can only pay you in guitars, if that's all right.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean. There's just so many people, and like you don't have to mention everybody, but I guess that just shows, it just highlights, and like I've just jotted down about 20 names, and I've had at least a conversation like this with at least half of them, and then I'm aware of
the
rest, and it's just so diverse, and it's kind of what I really love about the this community, like the Game Boy within the retro gaming community. And it's sort of like this, off the main street, down this smaller street, through this alley, between these two kind of like old rusty gates, and through this other alley, and there is this little community garden where everybody's just like growing carrots. There's just enough sun comes between the buildings to make it all just, and everybody's just like swapping carrots for cauliflower, and it just swapping.
That's an amazing analogy.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. And that when I kind of started the podcast, I'm like, I want that community to realize how great it really is, and how fortunate we are. And it takes work to keep the gates kind of closed when it gets a bit silly, and to make sure the aphids don't come in and start destroying all the produce. It takes work, and we're all a bunch of grown adults that people are making beautiful shells, and people are buying shells and putting food on artists' tables, but at the same time we've been a bunch of adults, and I really, really enjoy being able to be a kid as an adult, and not feel like, oh, should I say that, or is that cool? Because it really doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Right.
I think you just highlight that with that massive list of diverse people from all different walks of life.
It's
country. No, you're right. On you go. Continue on, mate. Sorry.
I was just going to say one of the things I love about this community is before I started my account, and I would sort of follow people on my other account. I guess I sort of grew and admired and was inspired by these people that are now my peers. Right. And I would never there's not a lot of, I guess, subculture communities maybe that you can do that where everybody, there's no egos and there's I've met my share of people that I don't associate with, and that's fine. But for the most part, everybody's really nice and super cool. And everybody, it's kind of oddly refreshing that everybody's really nice to each other, and it's nice.
Yeah. I imagine I'm not an arty person, but I've been around long enough to kind of have a stereotype of artists that maybe a little bit prima donna, or I've got what it takes and I don't understand why I'm not getting success and things like that. And that can be whether that's like paint, drawing, music, literature. Everybody starts with a passion to be creative and thinks maybe I can make a living. And as we get older, we start to realize, I think I might have missed the boat on that, and they can get sad and upset about the fact that it didn't work out. But then you can just realize there's a bunch of people over here just doing it. The beauty, I think, of the Game Boy thing is you've got the artistic side and you've got the technical side. And it kind of comes together, and it scratches a lot of itches for a number of people. I've had a few people on that all they really do is get an old Game Boy that looks a bit rough and just take it apart and clean the heck out of it. And if anything, might put an IPS screen in it, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's all they're doing. And it's
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and that is like a satisfying job. It's just repotting the plant, cleaning the roots up, and now it's growing tomatoes again. Someone can actually use it. All the way up to the crazy ones that are like replacing traces and Nat's like cutting boards in half and squeezing them and flipping them around and doing this and creating that, and people that are putting like Marky Pie, putting like a little pie in a Dreamcast VMU, and you're like, whoa, that's like, but you can fit in there somewhere there's a little spot for you.
I'm finding my niche, I guess. And I'm just like, I'm just kind of doing it for fun, and I'm not taking it too seriously. And I'm not,
there's no goals. It's just kicking around and having a good time.
Having fun.
Yeah. Cool.
Having fun, making friends, making cool stuff.
I still, every now and then your voice reminds you of some like late night kind of radio DJ guy. Smooth. Gonna give him one like Smooth Tones from Do You Like the Bee Gees or something like that, Anyway, mate, look, we'll end on that note because that's super duper positive. Awesome. And I appreciate your time. I really do. And I enjoy your Instagram, and anybody that's listening and doesn't already follow Andy, Tendo209, and all the links will be in the show notes. Give Andy a follow, and all these other people we've mentioned, and just keep contributing to this super positive, happy veggie garden down the alley behind the gate around the back of the building. And I will be in touch, and we'll be seeing you around, mate.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Scott. I really enjoyed chatting with you. I'd love to chat with you again. Probably chat with you for like a week straight.
No worries.
Stop to eat and sleep and stuff.
I know what you mean. All right, Bub. Well, you have an excellent rest of your evening, and good weekend and week and month and so on. And we'll be in touch, eh?
Yeah, all right. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Scott.
No worries, buddy. See you, mate.
Bye for now.